Councilmember, welcome to the program here. The new facility is on the east side of town. It's right there on the edge of your district, bordering it there. But Houston's
Yes.
east side, I was there not too long ago, it's experiencing rapid redevelopment. Are you concerned at all that placing this homeless center right in the center of this economic redevelopment might stunt some of the growth?
There definitely were concerns with the proximity to a park in my district, Seti Gas Park, a middle school, a lot of residential, single family homes, multifamily right around there. And it's really the reason that I delayed the item by a week and then hosted a community meeting because I wanted to hear directly from my constituents about their concerns, their feedback, their thoughts, and then come up with solutions that we could provide to reassure them that security would be taken a priority. Ultimately, Houston has done some great work in terms of our homelessness outreach and program and housing, but the folks that are still out there on the streets, they don't want the traditional shelter programs. They're dealing with substance use, mental health issues. They need help. They need support, and this facility will help get them off of the street, break that cycle, and then ultimately, hopefully, a path to recovery and stability. And we need that capacity. We need those beds, and this will provide that. So while there was concern, I do think that this will be a piece of our puzzle to help us get a better handle on our unhoused population.
To address some of residents' concerns, you guys were talking about having HPD, Houston Police Department, increase patrols in the area. There's a 9 p.m. curfew there for the facility as well. Do you think that's enough to ease residents' concerns?
Well, there were actually 10 things that were put into a memo I sent to the mayor the day after that meeting. And we've already started working on the top two. The first item was expanding the civility zone ordinance to cover that second ward East End part of Houston. That was on the agenda Wednesday. It was delayed 1 week to host another community meeting last night, which I did, and it'll come back to council on Wednesday for a vote. The homeless outreach team that HPD has, it's about 8 officers plus a sergeant. Those folks will actually be stationed at 419 Emancipation. That will be their home base of operations. And so you provide the community and the surrounding area with a direct line to the homeless outreach team. They're able to quickly respond nearby if things are becoming an issue. Those two things we're working on right away. Once an operator is selected, we know who all the service providers are that are going to be on site. We're going to invite the community in to have an open house so they can see the facility, meet the operator. We'll have a community task force from stakeholders in the neighborhood, residents, businesses, with 419 Emancipation's operator. Ensure consistent communication is done on a timely basis. And I'm really pushing for, and the neighborhood has really advocated for, a phased in occupancy approach so that we are starting at 25% capacity for a month, making sure, we're not just opening the doors up to 300 folks, overwhelming the system, overwhelming folks right away, and then causing some undue harm to the community. So I do think that phased in occupancy approach is a practical one. I'm going to still keep pushing for it, but there were a number of things that were part of the community's asks to be reassured, and we're working on them right away. We're wasting no time, and I think that shows the neighborhood we're taking your concerns seriously, and we're moving on them with lightning speed.
Is the phased-in approach going to happen, or is that something that you proposed?
I have proposed it. The mayor and the administration, they said it seems common sense to them. It really does depend on when we have an operator in place, having that conversation with them. And so some of those things just need to happen once that has occurred. So there's no sort of guarantee, but that is a priority for me and my community that I will keep advocating for.
Houston's homeless population is rising up to 3,300, I believe I read. This facility only houses 300 or so, just a tenth of the population that's out there. Is this really going to make that much of a difference?
Well, the goal really is to get folks off of the street, get them connected to on-site help, resources, services, and then transition into more permanent supportive housing. This is a lower barrier facility, meaning if you have a dog, you can bring your dog. If you have a partner or belongings, you can bring those with you. And a lot of times, folks are approached by outreach workers and they're offered help, but it's just them. Can't bring pets, can't bring partners. They have to, adhere to a religious program or other things, and they just don't want to do that. This is meant to say, hey, let's just get you off the street tonight. Your things can come with you. Let's get you a hot meal, a shower, and then break that cycle of homelessness. Get them the help or the services that could get them ready for permanent supportive housing. And that's the goal. It's not meant to just take someone right off the street and put them into permanent supportive housing, because we know that's not a successful route, right? We've got to get folks stabilized. And so this facility acts as a way to get them off the street, get them connected to services, get them to the navigation center or other places where they can then transition to that permanent supportive housing, have a much higher rate of success. And so it's not going to solve all the problems, but it is going to help us address the problem that we do have with folks who may want help but don't want to accept the help if it means you have to leave your dog, you have to leave your partner, you have to leave your belongings.
Is this just for people in the city center, the homeless people there, and the homeless people on the east side?
Well, we do have a commitment that the folks that are in the east side will be approached first and offered the facility first, knowing that there is a higher concentration there. If you look at the point in time count when they do the survey, a lot of homeless folks are in the eastern part of Houston, and so that was one of the things that was communicated to the neighborhood. We're going to start nearby, but the goal is that folks from other parts of the city can also utilize it, and this isn't going to be the only facility. The city is looking at other facilities in other parts of the city as well, so that it's not just one area, but you can reach folks closer to where they are in the west, in the north, in the south.
And those other facilities in other parts of town, is that something that the city's going to look at in the next year or so?
I do believe they already are looking at other locations. Yes, we just haven't had anything finalized in terms of the real estate transaction or whatnot that like we had for 419 Emancipation.
So would you call this one, 419 Emancipation on the east side, a pilot project, an experiment? It sounds like this is the start of several to come.
Well, the 419 Emancipation is meant to be a low barrier shelter. It's not meant to house people indefinitely, and it's again meant to transition them into more permanent supportive housing, get them set up for that. Now, we have seen in other parts of the city, we have a navigation center on Jensen. That is a place where folks have gone to wait for that permanent supportive housing once they've gotten in a more stable place. So the model that we have seen is not new, but for us, this facility, city owned, will be something that will help. Now, what we're looking at for other parts of the area, they may not all be exactly like 419 Emancipation. Depends on the location of the structure, but they will be places where folks can go to get services, to get help, to, again, get off of the street.
How much is riding on this for the city? If the city wants to open more of these to get more people off the street in other parts of town, I mean, it seems like this one really needs to be successful.
I would agree. And the resources, the coordination, and the collaboration would all speak to everyone understanding that this needs to be a success because it is a facility that is set up well for this type of operation. And so when you look at it being in the East End and with so many folks in that area already experiencing homelessness, if this can work and get folks again into that permanent supportive housing, we know that that is one of the best ways to get people out of homelessness. And so there is a lot of anticipation for this being a success because it can play a key role in getting the folks that have been chronically homeless and chronically on the streets off of the streets. And so you've heard from the administration, you've heard from partners that they are committed to its success. The stakeholders are committed to its success, and I think the city, which has done a good job overall in getting folks housing, this is that final piece that could really take Houston's homelessness approach to the next level.
I was reading that this will operate for 3 years using disaster funds that were allocated for Hurricane Beryl. Will the city be able to sustain this after that money runs out?
Well, I can tell you they're already looking for money to keep it going beyond those initial 3 years. That includes philanthropic dollars. I know that our housing director and our Homeland Security director have both already had conversations with folks that see this model as a key piece of our long-term homeless solution, and they've already secured some commitments for that. That doesn't mean that it's all going to be philanthropic. There could be other sources as well. But with the dollars that have come into the city that they've allocated for this, they have budgeted out 3 years with that money specifically.
Listen, nobody wants a homeless facility in their backyard, but what do you tell folks in other parts of town who also have homelessness, these parts of town that you guys might be looking at, the city might be looking at to place similar facilities?
You know, you're right. Wherever this facility was going to be, there was going to be pushback. There was going to be concerns, and I'm sure a good amount of fear from the folks that live there. And I think that is all valid. You know, you want people to get help. You don't want people to just be living off the street and suffering and dying on the streets, which is what, you know, we see without any interventions. And again, when you look at what we've done and our housing first model, it has been successful. But for the folks that it doesn't work for, this is a way to help get them off of the street and into stable conditions. But it has to be done appropriately. And I think going into a community and listening to them and talking to them and saying, hey, here's what we're thinking. What are your concerns? What are your thoughts? What can we do to help support you? That is the way to say, look, here are the things that really come from the community in terms of here's what they're worried about, here's what they're concerned about, and here's what we can do to help address those things. It's important that we do that. We don't want to just put a facility up and say, all right, you're on your own, everything's going to be okay. No, we want to move the homeless outreach team there. We want to move the entrance from the front to the back, so we're thinking about traffic and we're thinking about respect. We want the civility zone expansion, which is what the number one thing that they've said, the phased-in occupancy approach, the community task force, all of these things they have asked for. I'm committed to delivering for them, and I think that in other parts of the city, council members should be doing the same thing, because we have to have these facilities somewhere. We know that we still have an issue, and these are things that are going to help us work towards a solution, but can't come at the cost of just a neighborhood. We've got to make sure we're also doing the other side of the coin, which is making sure the safety is secure, making sure the residents are heard, and that we're doing the things that we can to make sure the neighborhood isn't inadvertently impacted by having a facility nearby.
Let me ask you this last question. If this one is successful on the east side, how soon do you think the city might try to purchase more buildings or property to open similar facilities across the city?
I'm not exactly sure on that timeline. I know they're actively looking. I know that multiple facilities are going to be needed as in terms of the mayor's goal is to end street homelessness, you know, and that's a lofty goal, and it's going to take more than just one shelter. And so specific timeline, I'm not sure, but I do know that it's a priority for the administration, and they are actively looking for other facilities as well.
Councilmember, we appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.